Hey y'all, it's your boy, Azuzu, back with another epic Phantom Forces video. I know you're surprised that, hey, this guy isn't dead anymore, but lo and behold, I'm alive. Let's get right to it. So, I just wanted to take this opportunity to play around with this new software I got, Vegas Pro 14. It was like $20 from the Humble Bundle a couple weeks ago. Since I'm totally dropping out of high school to become a YouTuber, because, you know, screw Harvard and all that stuff, I figured, what better way to try out this nifty software than to use it to edit a video about competitive Legos? But competitive Legos are a serious matter, kiddies. It's been a great way for above average 12-year-olds to get together and do what they do above average. Shoot pieces of blocks at larger pieces of blocks. This has been a timeless tradition, tracing it all the way to Block Land, and probably even earlier. But you know, the fate of competitive Legos today lies on Phantom Forces. Phantom Forces is a good old game when it's not completely broken. At its heart, it's just an arcade shooter where folks can play with their essentially pickup games and whatnot, but there's so much potential to perpetually pitting two teams against each other. I envision the integration of new game modes, player versus environment, crazy weapon customization, and, most importantly, an official competitive mode. The competitive mode has been something that Stylus has supposedly been on the fence about ever since the demise of CPFL, or the Competitive Phantom Forces League. Up until about July 2017, CPFL remained the premier league for people to get together with other people and play super serious matches about shooting LEGO characters. The devs were pretty alright with this idea, since that meant they wouldn't have to do much to ensure the longevity of competitive Legos. Everything was put in the hands of the community, since it was the community who started the idea of Phantom Forces being more than an arcade shooter. Now, we can talk about earlier games like Call of Robloxia 5 and whatnot as precedents to competitive shooters on Roblox, but this video is called The State of Competitive Phantom Forces. Note how it says Phantom Forces. Call of Robloxia 5 has been dead for so long that I wouldn't be able to recall enough to be able to talk about it in a decent length video. Anywho, Phantom Forces. I don't doubt that competitive Phantom Forces was a thing before the whole rise and fall of CPFL, and if there's anyone who'd like to add a little clarification to the idea of pre-CPFL competitive, you're more than welcome to do so in the comments. I only entered the scene as a lowly rank 70 or 80 something with a 4 point whatever KDR during the beginning of the main portion of Season 2, which I played for terrible aim. So, don't get mad at me, please. But yeah, CPFL died a terrible death after teams got pretty lazy and didn't want to schedule. That and little pieces of drama going around caused Stylus devs to withdraw their support for the league. CPFL died around the middle of August, after which the staff reached a majority vote to just let the thing die. I distinctly remember receiving a DM from GalacticBot saying that I've been banned from CPFL for the reason azuricus, knowing that azuricus equaled the death of CPFL. Or maybe it's just a small little private server with like 3 people in it. I wouldn't know. I'm just a lowly skid. But after the death of CPFL, there was this little awkward moment in which remaining leagues were trying to get their own thing going as a means of continuing the legacy of competitive Legos. This was done through the horrific attempt to keep CPFA, or the Competitive Phantom Forces Association, going, along with the attempt to draw the crowd of displaced CPFL players into PFRM, or Phantom Forces Ranked Matchmaking. CPFA in all concepts was CPFL version 2.0. The only things that were really different were the teams and the staff. During my brief time at CPFA, I served as a media who'd done absolutely nothing to contribute to the league, and I played for Shocktic Squadron, for whom I didn't get to play any matches. Once again, if anyone would like to clarify anything about CPFA and its history, you're welcome to do so in the comments. At the time, it seemed apparent that PFRM was going to carry on the legacy of competitive Phantom Forces. They were much more active, having between 700 or 800 something members, and had a semi-automated system of getting matches going. All that it took for the group to keep going was a couple of willing match organizers, having the friggin' bots online, and several willing players. The nice thing about PFRM was that anyone was welcome to join and play a match or two. That's essentially where I lingered before officially trying out for CPFL teams. Lo and behold, both leagues faced their own untimely deaths. I have no idea what really happened to CPFA since I left that Discord a while back. What I do know is that PFRM somehow got killbotted. For those of you who don't know what that is, basically someone with significant power in the server does some magic stuff to basically kick or ban everyone from the server. I've heard a number of sides regarding who actually did that to PFRM, but I'm not going to make any accusations. Around November, a new league was formed with the intention of attracting the old competitive player base and to encourage new players to get together and register their teams. CPFO, or the Competitive Phantom Forces organization, was based off the idea that a bracket-based matchmaking system was inherently faulty, since it relied on teams finding their own time to schedule matches. Those teams could only schedule matches with the teams that they were predetermined to face. What CPFO did to tackle that was to encourage players to schedule their own matches with whichever team they desired to schedule with. If we're going off a political compass metaphor, you could say that CPFL was leaning towards the authoritarian side and CPFO was more of like a libertarian league. Both had their own perks and both had their own drawbacks. Relying on teams to schedule their own matches definitely came with a few drawbacks. Over half the teams that were registered for the first season of CPFO were highly inactive, either playing one match with just one team or not playing at all. What resulted from that was having a few teams emerge as what we're seeing as your Tier 1 teams. Desire, Chaos Gaming, the Liberators, and Illicit Elites they all came out through that classification through a combination of just dedication to the league and pure experience with the game. Another issue that was found with the matter of leaving teams to scheduling was that it became apparent that some teams were deliberately avoiding scheduling with other teams. As a team representative for Desire during that season, I found it very difficult to schedule matches with basically anyone, most likely because everyone was afraid of losing to Desire. Those who were high up enough eventually found that as an issue and decided to impose a minimalist bracket system for determining who would go home with the prize money. What happened was that CPFO became more of a hybrid league, trying to take the best elements of each approach to match organization. In the main season, teams were able to freely schedule with each other, with those who won the most coming out at the top of the leaderboard. Both activity and team merit were rewarded in the system. To alleviate concerns about avoiding other teams in scheduling, pitting the top 4 against each other in a randomized bracket system went through to determine who won that season. For the record, Desire did win Season 1 after a pretty close game with TL. Though, I can't speak for the rest of DSR or any of the other teams. I'm kind of still waiting for my prize money. So, things went kind of fine and dandy. Hopefully the staff were catching on to the success of the league and actually completing a season, and CPFO stood as the only major competitive Phantom Forces league. In around early December, Phantom Forces content creators Petrify TV and Synthesize OG announced in one way or another that they intended to make their own competitive leagues and host their own tournaments with their own prizes and stuff. After some of the staff of the CPFO showed Synthesize OG that they actually existed, he and Lil Trap Dog, another content creator, came pretty quick to come on board with CPFO and endorse them. As far as I know, before taking a brief absence from all of competitive Phantom Forces, the Paradox community also came on board with CPFO, and Sin was working on putting together a video on YouTube, leaving Petrify TV as what was seen as the CPFO community as a threat to their standing with, I guess, Phantom Forces in general. Petrify TV announced that he had released a league known as PFRL, which, correct me if I'm wrong, stands for the Phantom Forces Ranked League. Personally, I haven't been too involved with that league, so I'm not too qualified to make any strong remarks about it. In comparison to CPFO, PFRL had the advantages of having an immediate potential to gain popularity, since it had the immediate endorsement of some well-known people in the community. That and one of the Stylus members, Shaylin007, was actually offering his support for the league, which was something that I hadn't seen since the days of CPFL. Shay was in charge of overseeing matches, making sure there wasn't any cheating, and distributing prizes at the end of what was called the pre-winter season, or the winter preseason. In my brief time of PFRL, I played a couple of matches with Chroma Gaming, which ended up winning that preseason. The members of Chroma Gaming were offered some considerable amount of credits from Shay as a prize for their victory, but everyone had instead opted to receive an in-game tag. That's why, if you catch me in-game, I have my very own pretty CG tag without the silly equal signs around them and whatnot. The other finalists, who I think were Chaos and another team which I can't recall off the top of my head, were also due to receive their own prizes before I took my little hiatus, of course. Nonetheless, the fact that in-game tags and prizes were distributed through a Stylus staff was evidence that the devs had once again an official presence in the competitive community, has been ultimately the goal of all of these other competitive leagues to ensure their own longevity and popularity with the rest of Phantom Forces. I forgot to mention this, but how the preseason of PFRL worked was that a bunch of teams, like 24 or something, registered and were put into these randomized brackets to play qualifying matches. The top few teams from those brackets were put into an official bracket during which all the matches took place in a couple of days. The times that these matches were going to be played was determined by the staff to prevent any scheduling issues. That, however, brought up the concern of whether or not players would have been able to, play those matches. The fact that teams were only limited to 10 players was a massive point of criticism for the league from the rest of the competitive community, since it relied on having a few active players being able to make a match. That, and there were many bans on guns and attachments that were seen as completely arbitrary. Suppressors, for example, were banned entirely. Initially, suppressed weapons internally were banned too. Special ammo for shotguns was banned, the SCAR SSR was banned, and you couldn't use any optics on snipers that weren't the stock scope / iron sights, the VCOG, or the PM2 that you could put on the L115 or the AWS. If we're going off the little authoritarian libertarian spectrum for comparing leagues, this would definitely strike anyone as a totalitarian dictatorship. Though I'm not trying to bring any bad reputations to either league, since I simply have high hopes for the fact that competitive fandom forces the potential to carry on. What I'm here for is to simply inform you, the viewers, about how competitive LEGO stands today. Today there are two major leagues for fandom forces, CPFO and PFRL. At the end of each day, each league has their own perks and drawbacks, and each player will be left to choose which league he wants to play for, if he simply doesn't choose to opt out entirely or take the road of playing on both leagues. CPFO was made by people who are a little more familiar with the nature of competitive PF, and had designed the league with preserving their interests. That meant a less intrusive ban list and giving teams the liberty of scheduling matches as they pleased. However, with a new competition erupting, it'll be interesting to see how CPFO will manage and try and gain stylist support and expand its network further. When I last checked, CPFO had about 800 members in the Discord, and PFRL only had a couple hundred, which indicates the immediate potential for each league to succeed. But what PFRL made up for in lack of immediate popularity was the support of a popular content creator to give the league more potential to grow, which means that it could eventually outgrow CPFL if that league isn't able to keep up. In addition, the presence of stylist endorsement makes it ever so easier to distribute prizes, check for cheating and whatnot. However, the people at PFRL have a lot to learn. Petrified, by far, is not a competitive player, and as a result he might be a little detached from the competitive community's interests, imposing rules and circumstances that may not be ideal for teams to get together and do what they simply love to do. I don't really know how to end this video aside from saying that I'm just optimistic for the future of competitive PF, regardless of which league will end up dominating or if they'll end up coexisting in harmony. I've been gone from the community since December 18th for a number of reasons, so if I were you, I wouldn't take anything I'm saying as absolute. I plan to formally return to competitive fandom forces on the 27th, which is a little treat for myself turning 18. If you enjoyed the video, please consider sharing with your amigos, liking, subscribing, and checking out my SoundCloud. If you have anything to add or want to talk about, you're welcome to add me on Discord or post a comment or something like that. Hope y'all had a blast. Happy holidays.